reviews are in, and Captain America Brave New World is a stinker. I mean, color me surprised, right? Like, we've been talking about how big of a disaster this film is going to be for years at this point in time, because it has been stuck in production limbo for as long as I can remember. This might end up being the most troubled production in the MCU thus far. At least something that has come out, okay? Blade notwithstanding, obviously, but I've heard a couple of things about this, okay? Like how there's really no justification as to why Sam doesn't take the super soldier serum, how the film is, of course, a jumbled mess because you've got 3 different iterations of the film, the script, the villain, the characters. It's like all of the characters are also wafer thin, and I mean, you've also been withheld of a lot of the MCU aspects of this because I find it just maybe a little bit on the nose looking at some of the creatives that are behind this, because I think we're going to be talking about this one even after, we do the autopsy on the box office on Tuesday. But the creatives behind this, I mean, oh boy, it's very interesting how they decided of all films to interject the very first openly Jewish Mossad agent superhero, Sabra, a little tiny Jewish girl who runs in and beats the brakes off of 6 fully grown men. Oh yeah, fantastic. That was hidden from all of the marketing. We've known of her inclusion for at least a little while, and depending on which script or which leaks have been out there, you can kind of piece this stuff together. Now, this is the stuff that I'm hearing. The characters are incredibly wafer thin for as much as Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito, has been brought in, and he was touted as being this big bad. He's in it for like a couple of scenes, and then he's done and dusted off the back of that, and everything that you've seen in the promotional material for Red Hulk is all you're going to see in the movie, and the key jangling at the end of it is the actual villain of the story, who I've heard described as, a certain type of a Wojak, who may or may not spend an inordinate amount of time on Reddit discovering the multiverse. It's going to be completely and totally forgettable. It's just, the response so far has been very interesting, because even with some of the dregs that we have covered with the MCU, they normally start out a lot higher than this. Now, just for transparency's sake, right? Like, obviously, I'm recording this Thursday night, and we're just getting the first round of reviews, but normally this stuff starts a hell of a lot higher. And then by the end of the weekend, when the rest of the critics come in, then it starts to drop a little bit. But if it's starting out, like, I think I've seen it debut at like 55%, and I've seen it dip as low as 51, but it's sitting right here at 52 as we speak on a Thursday evening. It's not going to get better from here, because, I mean, you've even got Access Media slop outlet like IGN giving it a 5, and this hack right here gave Kraven the Hunter a 3. I don't really think, okay, especially from what I'm hearing, I don't think Kraven's that much worse than Brave New World, but he also gave Gladiator 2 an 8, so just save me, bro, okay? But maybe it's another situation, right? Like, without going through all of the reviews, which I think could be kind of interesting, okay? Like, what do we got for discrepancy here? Or rather, what are the quality outlets, the 178 that were out there, okay? Some people giving it a, positive review. That looks like the execs. Oh, no, that is a different person. But you've got Clapper, Boston Movie News, Big Gold Belt Media. Who are these people, bro? Okay, Geek of Color, Globe and Mail. Okay, at least I've heard of that one. Okay, that's an outlet that I have heard of. With a politically incoherent, creatively inert, and just plain insulting sequel to Captain America Brave New World, the MCU brain trust led by Uber producer Kevin Feige has truly flatlined. Yeah, and here's the other thing, right? Because I was going to have some pictures of the red carpet premiere. Kevin Feige was very notably absent from this premiere, so take from that whatever you will. But I'm just also wondering, are we getting a big disconnect like we've seen before? Okay, like, are we looking at the top critics 38%? That's even worse. I wonder where that one ends up ranking all time, because yeah, all critics are doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this one, but 38% from top critics. It's normally something that if you see a film being reviewed this badly, you also got to think in the back of your mind, is this another one of those situations where we might actually have something good on our hands? Is this something that maybe the audiences are going to resonate with? Because how many times have we seen a film review bombed by the critic class just because it doesn't align with them ideologically? don't really think that this is going to be the case, because you guys know I live here in Grand Prairie, Alberta. Okay, it's kind of it's a normie capital, if we've ever seen one, with people with their political slogans on the back of their vehicles for the world to see. Okay, they wear their emotions and they wear their hearts on their sleeves. I love them for it. That's not a denigration. It's just simply an announcement to the type of place that I live in. It's as center-cut, median, small-sized city as you can possibly get. So the whole coastal elite thing in a city doesn't resonate over here, okay? It's a fairly good cross-section of what your average person thinks. And, well, I got the Thursday previews pulled up right here, and, well, tickets for a screening that's about to happen, at least at time of recording, in about an hour, not doing all that well. Not doing all that well. But what about 10 o'clock? Is the 10 o'clock screen? No. Oh no. And a bigger. Oh no. That's that's really not good at all. Okay, but maybe everybody's waiting, because everything in all of the advertisement is saying, hey, okay, this film debuts on the 14th. You can go down on Friday and you can watch this in an empty ass theater at 3:30 in the afternoon, or at 7 o'clock. Now this one's a little bit better, but still, it's about half empty. And then 10 o'clock, it's really not good, man. Now I'm going to be driving past the theater within a close-ish proximity to in, on, and around, probably around the 7 o'clock screening. Okay, so I'll have a pretty good assessment whether or not there's anybody, if this thing's going to fill up. Okay, I'm going to be able to see the parking lot and taking a look at the competition that's there. Not really going to be a lot of people checking out, what is it, dog animated show or something like that. So yeah, this is going to be the big draw if there ever is going to be one. And well, it's interesting, right? It's very interesting. But yeah, Captain America Brave New World draws mixed reactions, some praising it as an absolute blast. And yeah, from what I'm hearing, it's like just really weak character work for a film, okay, that is the fourth iteration on arguably... Is it the strongest character in the MCU? The one who goes on the best character arc? You could say Iron Man. It's either Iron Man or it's Captain America, right? Because First Avenger, like, I haven't seen a lot of the MCU films, and obviously I'm not going to talk on the film itself, just simply drawing from a couple of things that I've heard of. If I hear anything more of that, we'll talk about that maybe when we do the box office breakdown, but I digress here for a second. I've seen the first Avenger, okay? I've seen everything from Phase 1. I stopped right at Iron Man 3 and need not tread well-worn ground at this point in time, but that was the most insulting thing I had seen at the time, and I just decided I'm just kind of done, not just with Marvel, but just with movies in general. I'm good for a minute. That was the biggest pile of shit that I have seen in my life. I stopped right there, but prior to that, I mean, like, I like the Marvel films as much as anybody else, okay? Like, my investment was, yeah, pretty much at its height in Phase 1. There's not a dud in Phase 1, okay? Like, it's been a long time since I've watched it, but I didn't mind Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk film, which also, what I'm hearing is Brave New World is very much a sequel to that film, as opposed to a Captain America film, but just drawing back to that, right? Like, the character work, which was so integral to the previous three Captain America films, is just totally devoid on this one, right? Like I said up before, where Sam just doesn't have a good reason not to take the super soldier serum, but the entire reason that Steve Rogers became Captain America to begin with was because he was a scrawny, dorky, dweeby dude who just had a heart of gold and he could do this all day. And the super soldier serum just made him, it extrapolated on his great qualities. That's all that it did. It was just simply a magnifier, and well, it gave him a body and it gave him a physique consistent with who he was as an individual. And in Brave New World, they're trying to say that, you know, Sam Wilson is a better version of Captain America because he has 10 years of special forces training, because he has Wakanda vibranium technology, because he has essentially all of the gadgets that put him on par with Iron Man. That makes him a better version of the guy who is analogous to peak humanity and peak virtues. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's a deeply insecure film that doesn't really know what it's about, but it really wants to let you know that Sam Wilson is now Captain America. Why is nobody paying attention to our movie? But yeah, absolute blast. I don't know, man. It sounds really janky, so maybe if you are still entertained by just bright flashing lights and colors on a screen, maybe it'll do it for you. But yeah, slightly empty, I think that's even being generous as well. But Marvel's Captain America Brave New World has been unveiled from members of the press, and the first reactions toward the comic book tentpole are coming in lukewarm. Washington Post entertainment reporter Herb Schneiber praised Brave New World on X, calling it an absolute blast. All in story, it just checks so many boxes for me. Yeah, that's probably how this was also made. It felt like an MCU movie where other projects actually matter again. Lots of cohesion. Yeah, that's not what I'm hearing from the people who have actually watched it, but, EFAP is going to be doing a good breakdown of it, and I'll probably listen to that this weekend and, give you guys a little bit more of an informed take. But so far, yeah, it's very cohesive and felt like a good MCU sequel to the Incredible Hulk movie from 2008. Which this thing's on track to having a similar opening weekend. Others like film critic Chris Parker wrote the film didn't quite hit the emotional or narrative highs I was hoping for. Loved Mackie as Cap, and I appreciated more serious tone, but it did feel slightly empty. Yeah, because that's basically been the slug line, even from the people that like it and dislike it. It feels a lot more serious. It feels like Winter Soldier because that's what it wants to be. And if you're slightly engaged by that and you think that that's just a really good thing, as long as a movie feels like what it's aiming to be, that makes it good because at least it tried. Well, I guess this is the film for you. But chances are, if you're watching this video, yeah, you're not exactly entertained by that. You want to have something that has some depth and complexity to it, but this clearly isn't it. But I find it very interesting, right? Because you take a look at what Rotten Tomatoes has when it comes to ranking all of the MCU movies based on their, superfluous scores. And, well, Captain America Brave New World debuts as the 35th MCU movie and 33rd on the tomato meter ranking. Yeah, that's not great, okay? That's really not great. And this is supposed to be the kickoff to the first big Marvel slate. This is supposed to be the nice transitionary period into when stuff really starts to matter again with Fantastic Four, the most important time in the MCU arguably ever. Like, they were always going to make the money, okay, when they were at their cultural zenith with Infinity War and Endgame. Like, that was beyond a shadow of a doubt. They spent a decade setting all of that stuff up, and it worked exceptionally well for them. But this right here, Cap 4, then the Thunderbolts, then Fantastic Four, like, they need to nail this. And obviously, the first hop of the triple jump, landed with them face first, squarely in the dirt. But it's very interesting, right? Because you take a look at how the films are ranked, 1 through 35. Well, take a look at some of the ones at the top and realize that, Black Panther didn't really have a lasting legacy of it being a quality film. Obviously, I have some people that are out there that still think Wakanda is a real place, and there was that viral tweet that one lives rent-free in my head. Okay, if somebody's saying, well, black people built Wakanda, but white people built Chicago, why can't you guys catch up? And it's like, some people really are that fucking dumb. But the only thing that gets referenced now of the original Black Panther is that they should have recast T'Challa for the sequel, and that the CGI looks of PS2 quality graphics. But Endgame, does anybody look fondly back on that one? And Iron Man, that's my personal favorite, okay? For me, my ranking, it would be Iron Man, Avengers 1, and then either Thor or Cap 1, and then Ragnarok at 4. Like, you just take a look at, like, even just the top 5, and then, Spider-Man No Way Home. Okay, what does the critic class like? Okay, they love their diversity, they like their feelings, and they like their key jangles. Iron Man, that was reviewed, obviously, in a different time, where quality mattered, because we didn't know that there was going to be an MCU at the time of Iron Man. There was obviously the post-credit scene at the end, but they never would have thought that we would be heading to a point in time where there wouldn't just be a Captain America movie. It would be the first in a new line of Captain Americas. Like, that's kind of crazy. But to have the original Avengers ranked 10 on the stupid tomato meter, it just kind of lets you know how imprecise of a metric this is. But then at the same time, what ends up getting valued over the other? Because you've got all 3 of the MCU Spider-Man films. You got Far From Home at 9, and then you also had Homecoming and No Way Home at 6 and 5 respectively, where arguably Homecoming is probably of the highest quality as a film. That doesn't matter. But when you take a look at the bottom, okay, because then you got, Thor Love and Blunder coming in, okay, at 31, that's way too high, okay, 63%, like, bro, what are we doing out here? 6 out of 10 critics think that film is a 6 or above. Like, no, no, that's just AIDS. And then the Marvels is only 1 point worse than that. Like, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And then you got Brave New World, and then you got the Eternals, and Ant-Man and Wasp and Quantumania. Now, shout out to Muller for doing an excellent 6-hour-long video on that film. That's how I've immersed myself in that film's awfulness. From what I'm hearing so far, I don't think that it's really that much worse than Brave New World. I don't think that it's like Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably better than the Marvels, but that just speaks, okay? Like, you look at this, a whole lot of Phase 4, a whole lot of Phase 5, and you got to go back to a forgettable film in Thor: The Dark World before you get anything resembling a bad film in the past, or rather bottom 5 entries. But it's not a good way for Marvel to kick off its most important year. Can't necessarily say I'm surprised. I just suppose the big test is going to be at the box office, and well, we don't have any early numbers in, but I also don't think, oh boy, we're going to be done talking about this film, or some of the creatives coming out, and how long is it before they start to play the race card? I wonder. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Doc Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone. Words are hard sometimes.